What's poppin', Bothans?
Are you proud of yourself, you crack-ridden fossil?
What did he do this time?
He took my amazing genius idea.
Hey, I never wet my willy with Stormy Daniels.
No, you moron. You freed the stoners.
Oh yeah, it's about time those minorities are let out of jail.
Don't act like a white knight, Sleepy. You know for a fact this is all a political stunt because your poll numbers are in the trash.
Can't we just celebrate a good thing regardless of politics?
Pretty impossible considering how ingrained politics have become in nearly all forms of media. You can't watch a single new movie or series without lefty ideologies being jammed down your throat.
As long as it puts more boobies on the screen, I'm Gucci with that.
I think what Joe's trying to say is, what's the harm in giving women or minorities a chance to tell their own stories?
It's not like there's no opportunities. Disney is always looking for a chance to put a chick in it and make it gay and lame.
I see you watch the South Park special.
You're goddamn right.
South Park is undefeated.
A great portrayal of the most pathetic excuse of a producer mankind has ever seen, Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, after the Indiana Jones flop broke all-time records, she really started to get the negative recognition she deserved.
I fell asleep during that movie about 50 times.
That's at least double the normal rate.
I'm not too excited about what she's doing with Star Wars either.
Don't even get me started on the state of that franchise.
I sense a tier list in the Force.
Please know we've already covered most of Star Wars in previous videos.
Not quite. We haven't covered the Disney Star Wars series yet.
I hate it.
Can you stop being a Rancor-sized bitch for like 20 minutes? It's not all bad.
Maybe, but it's like counting flowers in a graveyard.
Let's jump into hyperspace and find out. Okay, so let's start by putting up our previous rankings so we know where we stand.
Solid list.
Revenge of the Sith in A tier still makes me want to execute Order 66 in real life.
Who would be the targets of real-life Order 66?
The Republicans, of course.
Well, at least it would be faithful to the original because it would lead directly to the dark times.
I don't hold ill will toward the other side. My allegiance is to the Republic and democracy.
If you aren't with me, then you're my enemy.
You would never have a problem with speeches if it was all Star Wars quotes.
Facts. So what are we starting with?
First, let's just warn the audience that spoilers are ahead, so use the chapters in this video to skip reviews if you don't want major spoilers. With that being said, my list here starts with Bad Batch Season 1.
Clone Wars spin-offs are goated.
Mid.
Oh, come on, man. This shit is just Clone Wars, basically.
That's where most brainless fans take this. But in reality, it doesn't hold up compared to Clone Wars. No way these 5 misshapen clones and their little sister are more entertaining than the enormity of the Clone Wars and the beloved characters that were built in those stories.
Although I don't dislike Bad Batch, that is a fair point. On the other hand, the strengths of this series do match the strengths of the best stories in Clone Wars.
That voice actor dude has some serious range to voice all the Bad Batch. The Wrecker and Hunter voices are easy from the normal clone voice, but Tech and Crosshair are pretty different, not to mention the hot one.
No!
There goes Emperor Pedophile again.
Joe, shut the fuck up. This is a little girl.
Nice try, bro, but I actually watched this. She's older than they are.
They're clones. They grow to be men in like 5 years with accelerated aging. Omega's a 12-year-old girl.
Oh, does this mean the clones are off limits too?
If you want to jerk it to Wrecker, I don't think anyone's going to stop you. Literally, anything is better than referring to Omega as the hot one, you sick fuck.
Forget it. Where are we ranking Bad Batch Season 1?
It was a solid season, admittedly not as good as Clone Wars, but that's a pretty tough standard.
Yes, there were times where it recaptured the cinematic power of the Clone Wars, but those moments were few and far between. Characters were okay. Nothing too special besides maybe Crosshair.
I love his arc. He has a lot more depth than any other member of the squad.
He was the only one that really made sense. It's weird to me that morality is the genetic mutation, separating the rest of the clones from Crosshair.
A great antagonist, nonetheless. The characters we meet in the first season weren't bad either.
I love Lizard Lady. She reminds me of Pelosi. It's also great whenever we get to see Rex.
Rex is a goat, but that doesn't excuse the fact that this series gets repetitive and boring. A lot of episodes just don't have any meaning to the plot, so they end up being filler.
True that. Even Cad Bane is pretty useless.
At least we get to see OG characters on our journey.
Sure, but what's the point if the characters that make guest appearances are far more interesting than the main squad? Let's face the facts. Wrecker, Tech, and Echo don't add to the show a whole lot. I'd honestly much rather watch a show where it's just Rex fucking around doing anti-Empire shit instead of watching Operation Take Your Little Sister with you.
It definitely isn't all bad. The finale with the destruction of Kamino was a visual powerhouse.
Cinematic as fuck. I liked how they made Crosshair switch back for survival, but but he made the choice to remain with the Empire of his own free will. It should also be said that Bad Batch does not skimp on the alien monsters.
Plenty of cool aliens and good ideas, but this season still feels like it's on the same level as Rebels. Pretty good, not up to Clone Wars standards.
So we should put it in B tier?
I think I'm higher on it than Rebels with visuals alone.
I think B tier is fine. I'd rather watch this than Rebels, I guess.
All right, on to Bad Batch Season 2.
Pretty much the same shit.
Yeah, mostly. It suffers from the exact same problems as Season 1, but to an even further extent. It feels like more than half the season is filler episodes.
It's fair to say that. It's also fair to say that the good stuff is still good. Plenty of wacky 20-minute adventures.
They ramped up the drama in this season, too. Lots of mistrust and shady characters. Even Nancy Pelosi betrays them.
A bit weird how Echo just decides to go back to Rex and then comes back later on in the season.
Even the main squad is super flaky. They're all just contemplating how long elite super soldiers are supposed to babysit for until it's cool to back out.
I was left wondering why we ended up in some places. It felt as though Hunter's goal was to find a place to hide Omega, but in reality, he actively made tons of moves that put her in more danger.
Hunter is Hunter's favorite character.
Well, think about how much they have in common. Both Hunter the clone and your dumbass son smuggle drugs and weapons and are involved in kidnapping minors.
They both love Rambo, too.
I'm starting to think Dave Filoni knows your son personally.
As far as this season goes, I think it's tremendously mid.
Dude, kiss Moochie's ass. You're going to disrespect my boy Tech's sacrifice like that?
It's probably fake news. Nobody ever dies in Star Wars anymore. They just toss you in the Bacta tank or turn you into a cyborg and you'll be back next episode.
That is truly the worst writing trope in this franchise.
Didn't Filoni do it first with Darth Maul?
I thought it was a stupid idea back then too, but he did so much more cool shit with Maul, who was already an interesting character with no screen time to begin with. So it ended up being great.
Doesn't Filoni do the same thing another 15 times with a bunch of other characters?
Oh, no, he's right. Even Echo is a character whose death in the Clone Wars was a lot more meaningful than the life he's been living after his resurrection.
Dave Filoni's sins will not outweigh all the good he's done for Star Wars. He's kept this franchise from sinking during the worst times to be a Star Wars fan. With that being said, Disney doesn't trust him over executives like Satan's wet dream, also known as Kathleen Kennedy. Therefore, they won't give him full control or enough creative power to tell his stories like George Lucas did in the Clone Wars.
Plus, George Lucas was pouring in all the funds necessary for each and every episode of the Clone Wars. Rebels saw at least a 50% cut in budget per episode, which explains the lack of quality. Bad Batch has better animation, but I'll bet the funding per episode still doesn't match the Clone Wars.
Bad Batch is still the same animation and still recaptures the feeling I had watching the Clone Wars.
I'm glad you're having fun, but the difference in quality is noticeable. Bad Batch doesn't hold the same weight as the Clone Wars, mostly because it feels like the content is for a younger audience, just like a lot of Rebels. In the Clone Wars, people died horribly every episode, but in the Bad Batch, the clones are shooting stun rounds the whole time, so Omega doesn't get PTSD.
The second Omega isn't around, crosshair, speed runs, all the murdering.
Once again, the best character in the season.
He finally understands that his life means nothing in the eyes of the Empire.
Crosshair is more interesting than all the Bad Batch combined at this point, but it still doesn't carry the rest of this mid-season, and neither does Space Wanda Sykes.
I have to agree. Besides a few twists and turns, this season was painfully close to the last season, with just a couple episodes really worth watching, like the one with the Zillo Beast. C tier is okay.
Well, at least it's a high C like the juice box. We even get a look at Omega at a fuckable age.
You disgust me.
I'm also sickened. C tier it is. What's up next?
Now we move on to the Tales of the Jedi.
Count Dooku is the GOAT.
You said it, Joe. Getting to see fan-favorite characters in different scenarios was fantastic.
I enjoyed the story arcs they put together in this one. Too bad I only get to enjoy those arcs for like 45 minutes before the season's over.
I was also pretty shocked that there's only like 6 episodes with a slim runtime of about 15 minutes each.
Super fucking disappointing. When the content is good, you need more than this.
It's better than nothing. They're welcome canon stories. I mean, come on. We get some great waifus from this season.
Can you not tug your Johnson to Yaddle for me?
I put a Grogu right in her.
That's better than what Dooku did to her?
Very compelling story there. The pressure his character went through matches his appearance in Attack of the Clones. You could tell in the movie he went through some shit that he regrets, and you get to see it play out. That's the strength of these anthology-type series, and Clone Wars did it the best.
It's just Clone Wars had so much more content that it's hard to compare the two.
I'm on the fence on where to rank it.
I'm at A tier, to be honest.
I couldn't rank it past B tier because you blink and you fucking miss the whole season.
Is Ahsoka legal in this?
Yes and no. In the last episode, she's like 19.
Don't encourage him.
Yeah, I'll go with A tier.
Gross. You seriously put this on the same level as Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, I'll go B tier with it.
Wow, okay then.
That's better. What's next?
Let's cover Star Wars Visions Seasons 1 and 2.
Oh boy, Star Wars for weebs.
My otaku brethren and I have approved of this.
You've watched like 4 episodes of Dragon Ball Z. Let's not get carried away.
I skipped this shit because I'm not into all that Chinese propaganda.
In no way does China have anything to do with anime whatsoever.
Better safe than sorry.
Oh my God.
I'll start by saying the very first episode was pretty tight.
That wandering Sith samurai was low-key drippy, I'm not gonna lie.
The perfect change of pace for the Star Wars formula. The rest of the episodes are pretty dog shit compared to this one.
If we were ranking by episode, then it's a clear S tier, but the season as a whole is hit or miss.
There was that one about the rabbit. She was pretty hot.
Average anime enjoyer.
Joe, you're not helping its cause.
I'm going to say D tier only because that samurai character sounds dope.
Yeah, let's not get into every single different episode for all our takes on each art style and shit. Sounds like another video, if anything.
As far as this season, it was good overall, but there were some pretty bad episodes. Don't expect to be into all of them. B tier sounds good to me.
I'll agree with you. I really liked a few episodes, but I got pretty sleepy during most of this.
What's your take on season 2?
Pretty much the same as season 1, but no episode really hit as hard as season 1, episode 1.
I think season 2 matches the amazing visuals, but fails to live up to the standards of season 1's interesting characters and lore. I found myself appreciating season 1 even more after watching season 2, which is never a good sign.
Still loads of new anime Star Wars waifus.
Is that all that matters to you? Drawn yayas?
It's part of the immersion.
Well, then I expected you would like season 2 more, since all the episodes have female protagonists.
That automatically makes this F tier. I would also like to rename F tier to Kathleen Kennedy tier.
We can do that, but this season isn't F tier with that level of animation quality. There's definitely some stories in there that are great, like episode 5 with the sisters. That one was so heartfelt, I shed a few tears.
It's weird how you go from a shitty claymation pod race to the next episode being about genocide.
Sounds mid.
I'd be down with C tier as well.
I guess so. Definitely something to watch if you really enjoyed season 1. Okay, that's enough Star Wars animation. Let's get into the live action stuff.
Thank God, I've had enough of sleepy edging in Discord.
Edging with the boys is my fave.
That feeling is not mutual. What do we think about Andor?
It was tremendous.
Mid.
Are you fucking baiting me?
Joe, are you sure you watched this?
I did, but I found myself asleep a vast majority of the time.
Well, that's probably why you didn't enjoy it. This one's a slow burner with tons of unique ideas and masterful character development. If you nap through even one part, the rest won't hit as hard.
It was just too smart for him. You need an IQ in the triple digits to truly appreciate the writing here.
Malarkey!
Andor himself is a fantastic main character. A great mix of good and bad, just like he was in Rogue One. He works even better in this story despite the fact we understand he will survive the events, which lowers the tension thematically.
Finally, a Star Wars series that gets into the nitty-gritty of the rebellion. Everybody knows good people do bad things in order to secure a better future from a tyrannical empire.
Careful, Donnie. It's starting to sound like you're pro-hummus.
You're right. I'm not into hummus. I'm more of an onion dip kind of guy.
It's Hamas, Joe. He's talking about Palestine.
In that case, I'm going to have to support the empire. I mean Israel.
Hypocrite!
Shut up. It's a completely different situation. You're just trying to start shit because the adults are talking.
Listening to this dude is like hearing the screams of the burning alien children. It's fucking torture.
That part was actually horrifying. And Bix was a very sympathetic character at that point, making the torture even more heart-wrenching.
Tons of great characters in this. Mon Mothma as a double agent senator gave us more cool world building for politics, but my favorite character is definitely Luthen.
Luthen is the best character in the entire show for me. The acting and the presence of the character makes every scene with him a pleasure to watch.
For sure, Andy Serkis's character was another all-star in the prison arc.
I love the prison arc. It's fascinating how you get brought through the whole process of a Star Wars prison with Andor. The only thing I wish they changed is to put more aliens in there. I remember in Clone Wars, there were so many cool aliens in the prison when Kenobi went undercover.
Facts. Bosk started a prison riot in that, and it was memes.
I think the Empire understood that humans probably don't want to be cooped up with a Wookiee.
That's racist. Get him off the ballot.
You wish? And racism is good to live by in a galaxy where certain races can rip you to shreds with no effort.
I'm not going to lie, I'd be kind of concerned if a bunch of Trandoshans rolled up to the crib.
If you think random lizard people are bad, imagine the ones that they actually throw in jail.
Okay, it makes more sense that it's an all-human jail, but now I want to see the alien jail.
Let's be real, there is no alien jail. Stormtroopers use them all for target practice.
Oh, yeah, that's probably right.
Well, they need it. They couldn't hit the side of a bantha.
It's good that Andor finally makes the Empire great again. In every other Disney show, the stormtroopers are just mindless fodder. But in this show, we actually get some lethality back in the Empire.
Okay, final thoughts on Andor?
No alien waifus.
Nobody's listening. I think this is a high-tier show.
I think so too. Does it make S tier?
It's close. Between the music and the writing, I think I have to rank it higher than Rogue One, even though it lacks some classic Star Wars tropes like a ton of aliens and space battles.
Wow, you really think S tier? I assumed you would have hated it because it's not really that close to Star Wars.
I really like the different take. Slow burners can be really good if the writing is there. This show managed to keep me hooked the whole time.
The series is cathartic at times. When the prisoners made their escape and finally reached the open ocean, it made your boy tear up a little.
I think it squeaks into S tier. I wouldn't put it over anything in S tier, but it's an amazing story that's well worth the watch.
I'm happy to put it into S tier. If only Disney would make more stuff like this.
Season 2 of Andor is coming, so that should be okay. But these Disney shows seem to drop in quality as they go on, probably because Kathleen Kennedy horrifically violates anything good that Star Wars creates.
I don't think absolutely everything is her fault, but she definitely tries to feminize everything as much as she can.
I'm into it. Think of how many sexy alien hoes she gave us.
The fact that Joe is the only type of fan benefiting from this feminist takeover perfectly represents how fucking stupid it is. It's a fan base dominated by men, and there's a screeching feminist making all the decisions on new content. No wonder Star Wars is at its lowest point ever.
How could you say that when we have The Mandalorian?
That's what I've been waiting for. Fuck Andor. The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars show ever made.
Mandalorian is great, I will grant you, but the quality is inconsistent across all 3 seasons.
If you say one more word, I'm bringing you in cold.
Well, what are your thoughts on season 1?
Season 1 was tremendous. A brilliant space western that is truly inspired. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni combined their skills and creativity to produce one of the best pieces of Star Wars media ever.
The Mandalorian feels like a cool D&D campaign in the Star Wars universe, always meeting interesting characters and visiting iconic locations through the eyes and helmet of the legendary Pedro Pascal.
A great choice for the role. Ever since I saw him in Game of Thrones, I've appreciated his work.
He's been in a ton of stuff since then. Narcos, The Last of Us, even Kingsman. The dude has serious charisma on screen.
Each episode of season 1 feels very deliberate and takes its time building the world and these characters.
For fuck's sake, you even get Bill Burr in Star Wars. Is there anything better than that?
Funny how he made fun of Star Wars fans and yet they still got him to be in Star Wars.
Now it's canon that there's a space Boston somewhere in the galaxy with a bunch of space massholes cutting people off in traffic.
Bill Burr isn't even in the top 5 of interesting characters we meet in season 1. My favorite was the Ugnaught mechanic.
No, bro, he's my favorite.
He can be both our favorites.
No, he's my favorite only. I have spoken.
How can you not pick Grogu as your favorite? Dude is like 50 and still doesn't talk. That's on some gangsta shit.
The best part about him was we had no idea what his name was for the whole first season, so everyone just called him Baby Yoda.
I loved how Quill rebuilt the IG unit to be a nurse droid for Grogu.
Who could possibly be cooler than IG-11? He soloed dozens of lizard people while doing the robot.
Finally, we got to see the full potential of an assassin droid, both in the first and last episodes of season 1.
I heard Elon is making these. We should all get one and have droid fights.
Roger, Roger.
I'm down for that, barring any ethical concerns.
Robots shouldn't get rights.
We'll get there when we get there. Anything bad about season 1?
It was all perfect. Best Star Wars since the Clone Wars.
Only a couple episodes didn't really impress me much. There was one with the introduction of Fennec Shand with that sharpshooter kid that died in the same episode. That was pretty mid. Other than that, I really enjoyed the first season.
All the side characters were wonderful. Gina Carano as Cara Dune fits perfectly. Carl Weathers is very convincing as Grief Karga. And Giancarlo Esposito is always a welcome antagonist.
Everything flowed just right and a good story was told. How can somebody not like season 1?
It was done with passion and great attention to detail, there's no doubt. It earns its place as the best season of anything by Star Wars series. The music also kicked fucking ass.
I absolutely bump the main theme of Mandalorian in the whip at full volume.
Just put it in S tier already and put it over Hodor.
It's Andor, but yeah, I agree.
The rest of the tier list isn't really in order, but sure. How about Mandalorian Season 2?
Just as good as Season 1, if not better.
I'm not going to say that. Season 2 is very good, but it's far from perfect.
What are your complaints?
The writing took a little hit. It also felt like there were a few more filler episodes compared to Season 1. Episodes like The Marshal and the one with Ahsoka were still just as good as anything in Season 1. But episodes 3, 4, 6, and 7 are shaky, if I'm being completely honest.
That's a load of malarkey.
Can you be a little more specific?
I'm glad you asked. It felt like Disney was using the success of Mandalorian to launch a string of profitable series by using Season 2 as a collection of extended trailers for spin-offs. They spent an awful lot of time on characters like Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, and Cara Dune, while spending not as much time on Din Djarin and Grogu.
Bro is mad because women. What a surprise.
I understand those complaints. I do prefer Season 1 for some of the reasons you mentioned.
You're going to tell me you didn't like Ahsoka in her first live-action appearance?
I did not say that. I actually thought it was wonderfully written and one of my favorite episodes.
So you don't like Bo-Katan and her massive cheeks? That's even crazier.
I think Bo is a perfect conversion from her appearance in Clone Wars. I just don't agree with the overall arc of her character in this season and next season as well. This whole dark saber unites all of Mandalore plot is fucking stupid.
It's like they haven't decided where to land on that. Pretty stupid that whoever beats the person with the dark saber is the new king. Mandalore is kind of like space Wakanda.
Bo-Katan is the princess, and she should win the sword.
I would be way more interested in the dark saber plot if Din actually wanted it in the first place. The fact that he doesn't give a fuck makes that whole storyline fall flat.
Speaking of the finale, was I the only one that thought it was kind of mid?
Yes, you were the only one. To see Luke Skywalker's face again reignited the same feelings I haven't felt since the original trilogy.
It did make me feel some type of way to see Luke. I started tearing up when I saw him. And then when Grogu says his goodbyes to Mando and he shows his face, I was straight up ballin', fam.
A heartfelt moment for sure. But it could have hit way harder if he didn't already show his face to the entire Empire and Bill Burr in the episode before this one. It's fantastic to see an unmolested version of Luke before Kathleen gets a hold of him. But the deep fake effect is honestly pretty bad. Some freelancers on YouTube did the scene way better with nowhere near the budget.
Shout out to Corridor Crew. They actually won the job and did Luke's face for the book of Boba Fett.
It makes me sick that you can be this negative about the greatest show made in this decade.
I gotta say, I'm with Donnie. With a few minor changes, this season finale could have been perfect. There were many conveniences made in service of the plot, which were silly at times.
Feels like they did way too much to secure the dumbass women power charge to take the bridge when characters like Boba Fett and Space Bill Burr get kicked to the curb. This leads me to believe that Kathleen Kennedy is up to her shit again and probably had more creative power over Mandalorian at this point.
Can you quit your yapping? She's like your everlasting scapegoat.
Oh no, it's true. Kathleen Kennedy's the sole reason everything in Star Wars is straight poodoo.
How do you know that for sure? Did you spy on them while they were making it?
Nah, spying is your thing. I got some insider knowledge.
Fake news.
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
Okay, fine. Ask her yourself.
Did you say her?
What's up, libtards?
Wow, really?
Oh my God, is this Cara Dune?
No, it's Gina Carano. I can no longer legally be Cara Dune.
Donnie, I'm not on the right medication for female interaction right now.
You can take your Viagra in silence.
Hi, Gina. How you doing?
Pretty good, Mr. President. Things could be a little busier, but I can't complain. I could complain a lot, actually.
Why, Mommy? I mean, Gina, what happened?
Did you not notice I was absent in Mando Season 3?
I thought you were with the mommy forces. I mean, the special forces.
No, I'm fired. Cara Dune is either dead or some other muscle mommy is going to have my face painted on hers for a show I was supposed to have.
That's fucked up.
I know, right?
Can you please remind us why you were fired?
Well, I made this one tweet.
I can tell why you and Donnie are friends now.
We actually met through Dana White.
Of course you did.
Anyway, I made this tweet about how the Nazis pinned the neighbors of Jewish people against them by slandering their beliefs and said, how is that any different from slandering people today because of their political views?
Pretty dope tweet.
I thought so, and apparently other people didn't.
Even I know that's a risky one. They tell me all the time, never start talking about Jews or Nazis. It just never goes the right way.
You got a point there. I pretty much lost my whole acting career in like 5 minutes.
I'm going to come right out and say that I don't really agree with the tweet you made, but I also don't agree with the fact that you lost your character because of it.
I appreciate that, Obama.
Now, the question you were brought here to answer is how much of Disney Star Wars failures are on Kathleen Kennedy?
Well, I'll tell you this, with her, it's all activism bullshit. She's basically just using Star Wars as a platform to fund her feminist universe. And she thinks that's going to be her legacy. And I was totally going to get a piece of it with my own show and everything.
Case fucking closed. Kathleen Kennedy killed Star Wars.
I'm on the Cara Dune side because she's hot.
I'm not Cara Dune. I legally have to say that.
Okay, I believe you. Pushing a certain political view as the main focus defeats the purpose of writing a story in Star Wars. It's a galaxy far, far away for a reason. It has a defined legacy that shouldn't be changed, only expanded upon.
Instead, she took a male-dominated IP and stuffed it full of poorly written feminism. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau aren't perfect, but they respectfully carry the direction of George Lucas's vision, while Kathleen Kennedy shits all over it to kill the patriarchy, which, if you haven't noticed, doesn't fucking exist since women have been voting for the last 100 years.
She also can't stand if people don't agree with her. She gets pissed at you if you even like a post from an account that made fun of her at one point. From what I hear, she went thermonuclear bitch mode after South Park made the Pandaverse.
I can understand not being happy about it, but all of us have been South Parked before. There's nothing you can do but laugh.
I'm a literal transsexual puppeteer in South Park, and I still love the show. Way better than the impression that murderer Alec Baldwin used to do of me on SNL.
Meanwhile, Kathleen is probably taking legal action against South Park and doubling down on the horrible Star Wars chick flicks.
Which means more waifus.
But at what cost? The latest news is Kathleen is pushing out the Rey movie nobody asked for with the same girl power director that made The Marvels. The director is already talking about how she likes making men uncomfortable and wants women to shape the Star Wars universe.
Fuck me, she has doubled down.
Big time. I'd love to say more, but I'm being instructed by my lawyers to end this call to avoid legal persecution.
Thanks for clearing things up, Gina.
Yeah, you're a real one for that.
Okay, gents, time for me to go back to the special forces and get killed. See you never.
Damn it, I was going to shoot my shot.
She would snap you in half like a Kit Kat.
Might not be a bad way to go. I'll slide in the DMs.
That was good to know, but where are you at with the ranking?
S tier. I fully enjoyed it from the Crate Dragon all the way to Boba Fett killing Bib Fortuna and taking Jabba's throne.
I also think the second season was enjoyable. I really liked certain episodes, a lot like the Crate Dragon and the one with the frog lady. It's landing somewhere around B tier.
I thought you would be way lower with all those complaints.
They were just nitpicks at this point, but it's all downhill from here with the Disney series.
I can settle at A tier. This is still peak Mandalorian, even if it takes a slight step back from season 1.
It's still the good shit. I have spoken.
All right, let's rank the Book of Boba Fett now, since it's basically the Mandalorian season 2.5.
The Mandalorian DLC was pretty dank.
Here's where my grievances start to increase.
Fucking general grievance over here.
Why are we making a 7-episode TV show for Boba Fett and making half the episodes about Mando and Grogu?
For me, it was unexpected, but not unwelcome. We get to see fan-favorite characters left and right and still get a nice arc with Boba Fett and the Sand People.
Watching Boba Fett heal in the Bacta tank made me real sleepy. It's pretty similar to what I got going on.
How much money is the government spending on your nightly back-to-tank soak?
I don't ask questions. I just put on my scuba mask and sleep in the goo.
It was pretty clever that they covered past events in dream form while he's healing.
Dances with Banthas was only mildly entertaining. What I really wanted to see was The Sopranos in Star Wars. All that really happens before Boba Fett is betrayed by everyone is he gets pestered about water thievery by the worst characters in the show, the Modifiers.
Okay, the Modifiers were fucking garbage the whole time, but the Hutts, Black Chrysanthemum, and Cad Bane make for some interesting character dynamics.
I will say that it was impressive to include as many characters as they did in such a short time, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired.
At least we get an Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker one-night stand. How could you possibly hate that being canon?
Oh shit, do you think they were actually banging?
Even Mando was sussing Ahsoka out for why she was there with Luke when she already said she wouldn't train Grogu.
Jedis talk all the time. Plus, Anakin kind of raised Ahsoka, so it's almost like they're related.
Ahsoka's like his big stepsister, and you already know he's into that shit.
He also asked her, "Will I ever see you again?" Which was a clear reference to when Anakin left his mother meaning Ahsoka actually meant a lot to him, and how else would they become that close in a couple days or whatever?
They were banging on God, and Grogu probably watched in the corner.
Bro, he's a fucking baby.
He's like 50 years old and has witnessed hundreds of murders. You think some Jedi sex is going to hurt him?
We're done talking about this.
Grogu is Space Sneeko.
Joe, one more word and I'll have Elon test the space laser.
I'm cool. Don't zap me.
The thing I'm most pissed about in this new Filoni verse is that nobody ever fucking dies, even if they suffer mortal wounds. It drains the tension out of every single Star Wars story because anything could happen to a character and they'll be just fine.
Except for Garza Fwip, the hottest woman in the galaxy, and her whole whorehouse got blown up so unceremoniously to set up the finale.
That was some good shit. It was exactly the kind of writing I was looking for the whole season.
While they were so busy dancing in the desert, we could have been watching Boba Fett cracking skulls across Mos Espa. The Sand People thing didn't even really pay off as much as it could have. Imagine how much better it would be if Cad Bane was the one who kills the Sand People.
That one small change would make the rest of the story hit so much harder. With that being said, it was a fairly entertaining finale.
The Rancor was fucking baller. I loved how it bested the Scorpion droids and then went on a rampage after Cad Bane dismounted Boba.
Those big-ass destroyer droids were awesome, and the Rancor fights were a feast for the eyes. This is pretty much the closest we get to a kaiju fight in Star Wars.
I will agree the fights were awesome and the Rancor was a success. But just like a majority of big monster movies, the human part sucked ass. The modifiers were uncomfortably present during this whole finale. The girl that looks like teenage Kathleen Kennedy makes all the decisions, and none of them are good.
I took small naps during all scenes that didn't include Grogu or the Rancor, so what did I miss?
Mando Boba Fett and Black Chrysanthemum killed hundreds of gangsters while absorbing approximately 10,000 shots each. The rest of the good guys either died or spun around in circles for no goddamn reason.
Grogu was still the MVP. Absolutely no one else could have stopped the Rancor.
There is definitely a lot to like about the finale. But there's also a lot to dislike about it. Cad Bane was great, but he was a little underutilized. The modifiers were in way too much of it and should have all died. And the main cast took way too much damage with no consequences. I was also hoping Cad Bane would bring more OG bounty hunters to the fight, like Bosk, Dengar, or imagine seeing IG-88.
Oh man, that'd be spicy. Seeing the way Grogu and Din react to an evil IG after IG-11 would be pretty special.
You could take one of the Scorpion droids away, and it would probably make up the budget to put those characters in, rather than doing stupid shit like the modifiers and the people of Freetown.
All in all, I still think it was chaotic and mostly exciting. You could always say they could have done something better in hindsight, like why not have Luke come with Grogu and fight on his home planet?
Now that would have been S tier.
The logic in the writing was shaky as it is.
Well, where would you put it?
Probably C tier, to be honest. Pretty mid.
Not a fucking chance. Best waifu, best monster battle, and best action of all the series. S tier.
You're the type of brain-dead fan that they're catering to nowadays, so of course you like it.
I think it just barely gets into B tier. Definitely not a great show because the story is all over the place, but it was pretty good most of the time.
It was really the last show they made that wasn't completely fucking atrocious. Too bad we aren't getting another season, but the good news is we never have to suffer the modifiers ever again.
Facts. Up next we have Mandalorian Season 3.
Fucking mid.
Stop. The season was pretty good.
Even you know it's not like it was.
Maybe it's not the most eventful season, but still good.
That's putting it mildly. Basically, nothing happens compared to the previous 2 seasons and Book of Boba Fett.
It is kind of weird that they spent half the entire season on the dark saber-wielding arc, just to destroy it at the end of the season, in a fight with Moff Gideon.
Mando could barely lift the fucking thing, but Bo-Katan can use it despite her participation in the genocide of her whole planet. Seems like they gave Din an unnecessary nerf for no reason.
The Darksaber was exactly like Thor's hammer, but had no reason behind why it got heavy depending on the user. Paz Vizsla is stronger than Din, but it was just as heavy for him during their Book of Boba Fett duel.
I wonder what the fuck he did for the Darksaber to weigh half a ton.
Funny how some of the best parts of Season 3 happened in the Book of Boba Fett. It's almost like they should have done all the character development for the Mandalorian in the Mandalorian.
In Season 3, they at least start building up the Mandalorians as a people. They even live like Mandalorians should, fighting monsters every 10 seconds.
But they do it painfully slow with roadblocks everywhere. Bo-Katan has to save Mando from a cyborg and a mythosaur. And from Moff Gideon, she also takes the Darksaber and the right to the Mandalorian throne. You might as well name this season The Book of Bo-Katan.
Donald hates giant ass cheeks. He's gay.
If anything, you're gay for liking this season.
Dude, chill. It's okay to be gay.
Well, yeah, but it's not okay to be gay and take up a whole episode of Mandalorian because of it. Episode 3 of this season is the worst episode of The Mandalorian by far. We get fucking Space Rosie O'Donnell making Space Bill Gates fall in love with her and then betray him for no fucking reason. Literally nothing happens to the plot, and we all get to witness the worst love story ever put on screen.
I hated that episode's guts. It was so fucking boring, and I only got to see Bo's ass like twice.
I was extremely disappointed as well. I've loved every second in Coruscant up until this point. Such a unique location where anything could happen. If only that Imperial character, whose name I've completely forgotten, had any sort of role in the main story, maybe I would have enjoyed her more.
If that wasn't enough, these motherfuckers put Lizzo in Star Wars. I almost drop-kicked my television multiple times the first time I saw it. It's like they're actively trying to kill the fan base.
At least Jack Black was there.
Jack Black is cool, but they gave more time to Lizzo.
Oh yeah, her and Grogu had a great time while the parents had date night in Liberaltopia. Go fuck yourselves!
The only good parts of episodes like that are the spoonfuls of Easter eggs that reference older Star Wars stuff like the battle droids.
If pandering is all they got going for them, then they're in real trouble.
Facts. How did you guys like the finale?
I loved it. Lots of good action, and it finally looks like Bo-Katan is going to join the family.
Din and Bo make for a fun royal couple.
Just watch. The start of season 4 will just be Mando and Grogu, and we start all over again.
It is pretty annoying how it takes so long to build a crew.
Finale was okay. It just felt rushed, like they were just going through the motions.
Did you like the Moff Gideon stuff?
Moff Gideon is a perfect analogy for the quality of the season. It feels like he's only there to give Mando and Robo Grogu someone to fight in order to justify a finale. Gideon is great in the last 2 seasons, but this time around he just wasn't the same.
Maybe because he didn't fight Moff Gideon at all. It was one of Gideon's clones.
That's just the kind of lazy writing I would expect at this point. Nobody ever dies, no high stakes, and no emotional payoff.
That's bullshit. Paz Vizsla died.
Who the fuck cares?
Joe's right. His death was pretty emotional since he had a son.
We all knew he was at the age where every Mandalorian's father needs to die in order to make them badass. I have some hope for Ragnar in future Star Wars stories unless nothing changes, but not a single character means shit as long as Kathleen has her claws around them.
Fair enough. Where are we on the ranking?
Probably A or B tier. Still some fun Mando action and cool creatures.
It had some episodes that were still pretty fun, like the Pirates, but even those episodes were logically bankrupt. C tier, mid.
But Babu Frick is in it.
Babu is my homeboy, and I guarantee he would say this shit is mid.
I will have to go C tier with it. The characters don't really grow at all, and the logic and writing is just not the same quality as the previous 2 seasons.
Dank Farrak Barack, how can you let this clown turn you over to the dark side?
I stay keeping it real, homie. We only have 2 shows left.
And they both suck.
Oh boy, can't wait to hear Donnie bitch and moan.
Let's do Kenobi first.
This shit is torture, like being held to the fire by the force of Darth Vader.
I've been waiting for this. I even got my own presidential guest.
Hello there.
Oh my God, it's Obi-Wan.
General Kenobi, you are a bold one for showing your face after this show.
It wasn't another happy landing, I'll be honest.
Whoa, 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 Kenobi is goated.
Thank you, Chancellor Biden.
You don't have to call him that. We're ranking your show if you want to hear our brutally honest takes on it.
Ah, yes, I can see the tier list now. Wait, how is Revenge of the Sith not S tier?
Tell me about it. These 2 aren't the brightest in the order. Even my apprentice, Barack.
Oh, yes, I can relate with that problem.
I was never your fucking apprentice.
If anything, Barack is the master since he makes most of the decisions for the country.
If that were true, things would be going a lot better. So Ewan, what was it like working on Kenobi?
It was generally very fun. Mostly it was just great to work with Anakin again.
Every time you 2 are on screen, it's magical.
That's true. Too bad the show was hot garbage.
Speaking of shitty apprentices, your show wasn't my favorite either.
Ha ha ha, the apprentice sucked balls.
I would say the same, but you'll never get a show. Only guest appearances on shows like Criminal Minds or To Catch a Predator.
As tough as it is, I'll have to agree with Donnie. I was pretty underwhelmed by this 6-episode micro-series.
Well, it was originally supposed to be a film rather than a series, but some of the producers decided to make it longer and put more characters in it.
Let me guess, Kathleen Kennedy?
Yes, Kathleen Kennedy, among others.
So she took what could have been a pretty good movie and stretched it out to tell the story of Reva and Kid Leia.
You've got the gist of it, yes.
Doesn't surprise me, but it still makes me fucking mad.
I'm going to apologize in advance for these jaded assholes.
Not to worry, I lived through the prequel backlash. Nothing can hurt my feelings anymore.
It's funny because at this point I'm begging for anything remotely close to that quality.
To be fair, there were some really great moments in each episode, and it is nice to see more of you as Obi-Wan. You were the glue that held the prequels together.
That's very nice, thank you. It was the time of my life making that trilogy.
You absolutely carried the prequels despite Jar Jar existing, but this time it was too much to carry me, thanks.
Yeah, this writing was pretty awful.
Come on, you guys are talking like this was the Hindenburg. I liked this season. It was so good we're getting another one.
Quite right, I've got some unfinished business with Qui-Gon Jinn.
That doesn't excuse the god-fucking-awful show this turned out to be. Between Kid Leia outrunning adults and Reva being genuinely horrible, it was tough to stomach about 2/3 of this season.
It's a lot faster to say what I liked about this show than to mention what I disliked about it, so that's what I'm going to do. I liked the performance of Obi-Wan and Vader during their climactic duel. I liked the music. I liked the scene where Obi-Wan reconnects to the Force to save Leia from falling. I loved the scene with the clone trooper begging for change and the acting from Ewan during all those moments.
I really like the entrance of Darth Vader in the first duel and the fact that he stays killing kids. That's about it.
What's not to like about it? We get our favorite characters at vastly different times in their lives than what we're used to seeing in another classic Star Wars story to add to the archives.
It was a tall task to portray the character in the way the story called for. I had to be an Obi-Wan separate from what we all saw in the prequels and originals. This season is more about overcoming poor mental health than saving the galaxy. I think that's what throws most people off.
I would have preferred not to see a depressed Obi-Wan that yells at children and can't do the Force for shit. In addition to that, we get some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard. Even in the most dramatic moments of the entire show, the best they can do is repeat old lines from the prequels.
You can't say it was bad dialogue when Vader was unmasked.
True that. I was ugly crying when Obi-Wan apologized to Anakin for everything.
It was hard for me not to get emotional when saying the line, knowing what both characters had gone through up until then. Not only that, I was sorry that Hayden had to endure so much in his personal life and career ever since the prequels ended.
The hate was entirely misled. George Lucas is a shitty dialogue writer, and most of that shitty dialogue was in the love story between Padme and Anakin.
Still a better love story than Twilight.
I hate Sand, but I hate Twilight more.
With George, you need to come to him as an actor and try and work out some of the rough edges in the script.
It seems like you're pretty persuasive considering Obi-Wan's dialogue is top-notch in the prequels.
That's why they called me the negotiator.
It was the same with Harrison Ford in the originals. I remember him in an interview saying to George, "That's not how people talk."
I think it was just a bit tougher for younger actors to question the work of the great George Lucas after the original trilogy's success.
What George lacked in dialogue writing, he made up for hugely, with world building, interesting characters, and unique locations.
This show is lacking in basically everything. Not only is the dialogue shit, but the characters and locations are mediocre at best. The only character I was slightly interested in was the Grand Inquisitor, and Reva fake killed him in episode 2, which I am completely fucking sick of. If you get stabbed by a fucking lightsaber, you need to fucking die.
I never understood that either. Qui-Gon couldn't get revived, but everybody else treats it like a bloody sprained ankle. I swear, bro lost the will to live just to leave me behind to play stepdad. I'm going to give that spooky asshole a piece of my mind in season 2.
Reva's whole storyline is about the time she survived being stabbed by Anakin when she was a child, too.
Let me get her story straight. So, she gets impaled as a child by Anakin in Order 66, survives, grows up working for him by killing the few people left that would actually care about her in order to get a chance to fight him, only to get impaled by him again and fucking survive again. Are you fucking joking?
Healthcare has been pretty good in Star Wars ever since Obama was president.
Thanks, Obama.
Hey, don't blame me. George Lucas is the one that sold Star Wars to Disney.
I don't blame him. Did you see how many credits they gave up?
Just to turn it all into a big pile of shit. It's almost impressive how little they did with so much. The lightsaber duels alone ruined this entire show. We only get slight glimpses of the saber battles we once loved. Both Vader-Kenobi duels frankly sucked, and the Reva-Vader fight was laughable. Fucking breakdancing is not the strategy I would personally use for fighting Darth Vader.
Sure, I've been a bit out of practice, but were they really that bad?
Can confirm they were nothing like the prequels' duels. With the slower and clunky Disney lightsabers over the metal rods, it makes every duel look insanely slow and fake. Drains my immersion right out of the fight, along with lightsabers not being fatal.
Hayden Christensen looked like he was trying really hard under that suit. And they made him pretty intimidating at times with force powers, but it was pretty silly in some shots.
The force powers were really nice, especially all the rocks.
The rocks? That's what did it for you?
Yeah, toss a rock, cover you in rocks, pretty dope.
So uncivilized.
Final thoughts and ranking for Kenobi?
I'll leave it up to you, gentlemen. I'm not brave enough for politics.
Still pretty good, B tier.
I'm just wondering if anything justifies this show climbing out of F tier.
No, please don't put me next to those two poor excuses for films.
I don't think it's F tier. Ewan and Hayden gave great performances.
You have to ignore 90% of the show to get to the very few good parts. Really, only the last episode of the show is rewatchable. The rest of the show is like Baby Leia running. It's too much of a joke to take seriously.
She's faster than you'd expect, the little bugger.
There's just so much lame shit in this show that there's not even enough time to sort through it all. We didn't even mention how dumb Obi-Wan's plan to get out of the fortress was.
Did putting Leia under your coat seem like a logical plan to you?
Not particularly. I would have personally chosen an exit where everyone in the entire castle wasn't staring at me.
Well, why couldn't you negotiate a better plot line?
Nobody's negotiating with those producers. You're better off haggling with the Jawas.
It's not your fault. You did the best you could with what you had. I'm not quite an F tier, but D tier looks like a good spot for this.
I knew it wouldn't measure up to any of the prequels, but a D?
It's a fair grade. You pretty much dragged it out of F-tier hell yourself with the passion you bring to this character.
I appreciate it, Darth.
We still have to rank Ahsoka. You with us?
I think I'll stick around.
Yay!
What for? The show is fucking mid.
This time I don't exactly agree. A lot of good moments in this one.
Yeah, shut your hut mouth. The amount of waifus in this show is off the charts.
I guess this one's great for anyone who enjoys edging instead of actually watching a show.
At least it all starts well enough. The antagonists, Balin Scroll and Shin Hati, are pretty interesting. To take on an entire cruiser alone is no easy task, trust me.
Shin Hati is a baddie.
I loved the opening sequence. It really showcased both Balin and Shin's respective power level and relationship.
Just seems like Darth Obi-Wan and Ventress 2.0 to me.
I'm afraid he's taller and more handsome than me, too.
He's got nothing on you, Obi.
Not to mention he actually passed away.
No way, man. I watched the last episode. Bro's still alive, and he's gone into Mordor.
The actor died, numbnuts.
Quite a shame. His performance was admirable, and I was looking forward to seeing more.
Rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. He was truly an interesting antagonist. We haven't had an idealist with morality as a villain since Count Dooku and Balin Scroll managed to be equally intriguing.
I wouldn't go putting him in the same category as Sir Christopher Lee, but he had potential. I liked how he roasted Ahsoka for only being able to use violence to solve anything.
That's a big issue with Ahsoka as a character. The Ahsoka we know from the Clone Wars had a genuine soft side that led her to find alternate paths to her adversities during the Clone Wars. The Ahsoka in this show seems rather indifferent to all events that occur.
I do miss Ahsoka. She was a cunning warrior, and she was a good friend. The Council just didn't understand her.
Aren't you on the council?
Well, yes, but I was almost always on a mission. I didn't have the pull to make any changes.
Well, you and your council turned her into a nihilist killing machine.
What in blazes did I have to do with it? She's Anakin's apprentice.
You were saying?
Oh, it's you.
Is that the chosen one?
Little Annie?
Don't call me that.
How did you know we were talking about you?
I could hear you talking shit through the space bridge.
Sup, Sky Guy? Want to help us rank Disney Star Wars series?
Don't call me that either. Let's take a look. Not too bad. I like the sequels at the bottom.
But they put Revenge of the Sith in A tier.
I've seen people put all 3 prequels in F tier. This list is fine.
How do you feel about these Disney Star Wars series?
Oh, I love them. Every time one of these stinkers hits Disney Plus, people appreciate my movies a little bit more.
Fair enough. I completely reject Rey taking the Chosen One title from you.
Rey didn't kill Palpatine. I did.
Don't act like he wasn't electrocuting your punk ass into submission for 20 years. I think he got the better end of it.
I hope you know I'm going to get you in season 2 of Kenobi.
First you gotta find me, little Annie.
I guess you guys still have beef, huh?
Nah, bro. All beef was squashed when I brought balance to the Force.
Just because you get to be a blue ghost doesn't mean I forgive you.
Come on, old Ben. What are you still salty about?
Well, you only dragged me across fire as I screamed.
Well, you cut off all my remaining limbs, the tip of my dick, and let me burn.
Oh, I didn't know I clipped your willy.
Yeah, man. And space catheters aren't anywhere near as cool as you think.
That's fascinating, but we're reviewing your Silly Apprentices series. Care to weigh in?
Snips was pretty slow, but okay. I can't say the same about her apprentice. She was the worst fighter I've ever seen, and I've killed like 28 preschoolers.
That's fucked up.
Can you remind me when she was knighted? Because last I knew she was still a Padawan. She should never even have had an apprentice.
Don't pull this council bullshit, Obi-Wan.
Ahsoka has done enough to be knighted. Let's be real.
I mean, she fucked Luke. That is probably enough right there.
She did what?
Oh, yes. Remember when I told you we should do some ghost training on Mustafar?
I thought you just wanted a rematch.
No, I just didn't want you to see what they were up to. I didn't want you to go through that again.
Again? Wait, did Luke bang Leia?
Enough.
Well, now you've gone and made him angry.
I don't know what the big deal is. My sister is the love of my life.
I find you disturbing.
Calm down, Lord Vader. Both your figurative daughter and your literal daughter are extremely attractive. If I didn't know my daughter was my daughter, I'd be totally into it. I mean, who wouldn't be?
Bruh.
Facts.
I don't want to talk about it.
Let's just get back on track, shall we?
All right, where were we? Oh, yeah, Bo-Katana.
Sabine was pretty bad. I didn't agree with her storyline at all. She's a Mandalorian first, not a Jedi.
She's whatever Dave Filoni wants her to be.
Including impervious to death. Shin Batty impaled her in episode 1, and she recovered in a fucking day.
Apparently healthcare got pretty good in the New Republic.
The medical droid's got a lightsaber update.
Her arc is boring and predictable. We all knew she was eventually going to learn with absolutely no consequences. She even gives the bad guys the MacGuffin without repercussions, only to have the most emotionless and awkward reunion with Ezra.
It was like a damn middle school dance.
Even Padme and I had more chemistry.
Ezra was a great casting, but they didn't leave a lot of time for him. Just 2 episodes, the fucking hermit crab people got more screen time.
Meanwhile, Hera is off doing all this bullshit with the New Republic to keep them out of our main character's way.
Did you guys like Hera?
Nope, the casting was fine and everything, but she does the most boring shit that could easily be done in the background without us caring.
It was cool to see her kid and stuff, but she didn't have a huge role in the story despite being in most of it. The whole trial thing seemed like a song and dance just to get C-3PO on the screen.
Well, at least she had giant green ass cheeks we could stare at while all the boring shit happened.
That's my fucking wife, you cantina scum.
Your wife has the gyat.
Now you know how it feels.
With you, they were talking about Natalie Portman, but I'm married to Hera's actress in real life.
She knew what she was doing with all that junk in the trunk.
Oh my God, I want to chop your limbs off so bad right now.
Watch out, he's not kidding.
Filoni does an awful lot of creep shots in this show. There isn't one scene with Hera or Sabine where we don't get an up-close look at their asses.
Weird way to keep the audience engaged. I prefer plot line and character development, but to each his own.
Are we seriously complaining about big asses on the screen? What are we, a bunch of pussies?
This is Star Wars, not Star Horse. Dave really needs to get his priorities straight.
So have we turned on Dave Filoni yet?
I have, but I also have a history of turning on people.
No, I still have faith in him. He just needs the right budget and more creative power.
I sure would have rather had him working on my show.
My faith in him is shaken after this extremely mid-season. Dave thinks he can just rip off Lord of the Rings by making Ahsoka into Gandalf the White, but it didn't work. She was the exact same character, but smiled more.
She basically just wears white. Nothing changed about her at all after her Anakin Force vision.
At least she didn't want to die anymore.
Well, that's good. Now it's just the rest of us that want to die after watching this show.
At least it was nice to see her again, just like it was great to see Anakin in her vision.
She needed a confidence boost after she got bodied.
That episode was by far the best of the season. The vision sequence was cool, and Anakin mixing light and dark as Vader was awesome. But the fact that the pandering was the best part of this show speaks to its quality.
Don't worry, I know I'm carrying every show I'm in.
And he's humble too.
It was also such a treat to see Rex and Hot Ahsoka in live action.
Joe, no!
She's a child, Joe.
Oopsie poopsie.
This dude reminds me of Palpatine.
Oh dear, Palpatine was diddling too?
Big time. How do you think he got a son?
Yikes. He did kidnap a bunch of Jedi babies that one time in the Clone Wars.
Enough of Space Epstein. Where are we ranking Ahsoka?
Easy S tier.
The series, Joe, this isn't the waifu tier list.
Oh yeah, maybe a B.
Nah, the character development for the heroes isn't good in this one. None of the main characters outside the droid have any substance.
There were some pretty cool villains like Admiral Thrawn and Morgan Elspeth with the Night Sisters, but none of them have screen time or do anything besides make swords and zombies and other useless activities. It's a mid-show.
I didn't think it was better than our show, but I'll say C tier.
C tier is fine. The action could have been a bit better if Ahsoka kept up with her training, but she got slow and her use of force powers was lacking.
C tier it is. It has some great cinematography and music beyond the writing issues.
Definitely not all bad, but the show is a disappointment since a lot was riding on it for the future of Star Wars. Now I think it's officially dead.
Well, don't give up too easily. There's always Kenobi Season 2.
As long as Kathleen Kennedy is still the Emperor, all projects will be either mid-short series or ultra-feminist Rey movies made to make 90% of the fan base hate Star Wars. It's fucking dead.
There's always hope. I heard Dave Filoni was just upgraded to Chief Creative Officer.
Typical Backlash bullshit. Dave isn't getting any real power. He's on the council, but he's not getting the rank of master.
Are you really still butthurt about that?
Yep.
As long as they keep doing big booty aliens, I'm riding this train until the wheels fall off.
Stop talking about my wife.
Are we done here?
Well, we did forget to rank Solo in the previous tier list.
That's because it was so fucking mid that we all forgot it even existed.
I think it was because we didn't go to see it in theaters because The Last Jedi came out right before this and ruined the entire IP.
That was a rough one. Solo was pretty okay.
Chewbacca is the OG.
Just toss it into C tier and call it a day. It was nothing special, just more pandering and SJW robots.
Yeah, I agree. So what are you Jedi up to next?
I don't know, might play some retro Star Wars games like OG Battlefront 2.
What do you think? Star Wars, Clone Wars on GameCube? I live for that arena mode.
You already know I take every duel, no high ground in the arena.
That sounds awesome. Maybe we can play some Star Wars games and rank them in the next video.
Sure, but just know you're getting bodied.
He's not kidding. He's the best star pilot in the galaxy. I, for one, think flying is for droids.
Well, you've never seen me fly. Everybody knows I'm the best pilot.
You underestimate my power.
Next time. I'm getting pretty sleepy.
Bro could vanish into the Force at any second.
Let us know if you want to see a Star Wars video game tier list in the comments, and be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed the video.
We would be honored if you would join us.
I hate it when he does that.
Till next time, folks.
Bye, guys.